So,
So we start our conversation.
so earlier, earlier today, we were talking about shame because I posted a message about shame, and I know shame very personally. I think many people do know shame. They're just afraid to admit that they know shame, and they've tried to run away from shame. And we were talking about how, most of the things that we experience, it's a spirit. Like when I was reading the book of Proverbs and how God talks about the spirit of wisdom, as if wisdom is his own persona, like a personification of someone, and it's an actual spirit. And so in my post I was saying how shame is basically the other identity outside of having an identity in Christ. When we don't walk in our God created identity, which is a reflection of him, shame is the alternative. And when shame comes, it always comes with an assignment. It has a purpose and is there to tell you that, hey, you're not walking in your true identity. You've stepped out of your space. Therefore, now you've stepped into mine. And oftentimes when shame comes, because we don't know how to deal with it, we allow it to beat us down instead of using it as harnessing that power or using it for what it's meant to do, which is cause us to course correct.
Yes.
Cause us to
transform.
Transform, to go back to the Father, to go back to our original stance, our position, or our identity. And I struggled with shame mostly in my 20s, especially in my early 20s, because I just didn't know how to deal with it. Most of my shame came from sexual sin, if not all. 98%, a lot of it came from sexual sin because I walked with it alone, did a lot of things alone, and didn't have a lot of knowledge surrounding it. And so I allowed shame to keep me bound and stuck, and I hid a lot, I ran a lot because of shame.
But you know what? I got something else. As you were talking, something else just hit me.
Yes.
If you think about it, shame cannot exist without expectation.
Okay.
Right?
Explain.
So often shame is the result of a unmet expectation we have of ourselves. And sometimes the expectation is unrealistic. Right?
Okay.
So I can be part of a group and have this expectation of myself or perceive that there is an expectation amongst the group for me to be a certain way.
Okay.
And then when I'm not, I have that. The not being of the expectation is the two paths that you're talking about. I can either embrace the not being and say, hey, I failed. Okay. Or, hey, I don't know that. Hey, I need help. Right? And that's really embracing your identity in totality, what you are and what you are not. So when you're unwilling to embrace what you are not, that's where the shame comes. It hides, like right in that I don't want people to see this part of me.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? That's really and again, a therapist can say it way better, but that's really where it comes from. So once we start to check expectations of our identity,
okay,
that's when we can start accepting when it does show its face and being able to work through it.
Okay.
Right? Because it's just like divorce. God doesn't want you to be divorced. Mm-hmm. God doesn't want you to be fearful. He doesn't want you to grow weary. Mm-hmm. But in the human state, we will.
True.
So when it arises, the enemy wants you to live in it. Yes. He wants that to become your identity.
Yes.
That area that you were trying to hide and weren't shored up, he then wants to make that into the only thing about you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's when we stop and live in the shame instead of pushing through the shame. And that's where the statement, what we were talking about earlier, where I believe the body has missed out, is
the body of Christ.
Body of Christ has missed out on opportunities not requirements and mandates and, oh, I got to, but actually the opportunity to walk through the shame with people.
Not only walk through it as an individual, but also walk through it with other people, because shame is going to come. We live in a fallen world.
It's coming.
We live in a
Yes.
fallen world where we are not 100% 24/7 always walking in our identity or aware of our identity of who we are. We are God's reflection on the earth. And so
Yes.
because of that, we do sin. Because of that, we do mess up. And a lot of times, most people find themselves not only sinning, but staying in that sin for a certain amount of time, because either their wounds are wounding, meaning their soul is traumatized and they don't have the tools or the knowledge to heal at that moment, at that time. So a lot of times we spend not only days, months, but years in this false identity, really, which is any identity outside of Christ. And
That's
so,
right.
yeah, and so shame, we all deal with it. We all deal with the spirit of shame. We deal with what shame says, what shame brings in the when shame comes, because it is. Because anytime we sin, that is the job of shame, is to show up and show us that, hey, you are out of boundaries, you are out of line with God. The goal is to, like I said earlier, allow it to push us back into the presence, into knowledge, maybe knowledge that we never even had before, but to cause us to go out and seek that knowledge, because shame makes us very uncomfortable. Shame is doing its job. Shame was never meant to stay, though. It's supposed to come, do its job, and leave. When we get back into our identity, that's when we are no longer walking or
That's the
talking with
key.
shame. But what we do is we stay walking with shame, because the weight, like you said earlier, the weight of shame is weighty. It comes with heavy blows. It has heavy footsteps. Let's just say it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's like you're outside of your element. And shame is the antagonizer of identity.
Yeah, it is.
That's really what it is. Like, when you sin, something has to die. And we witness many deaths before our final, right?
Yes.
So every time you sin, certain sins kill parts of your identity. That's where the shame comes in. It finds those pockets and says, you're not who you said you are. You're not good enough. See, look how stupid that sounds, right? It's all antagonizing your identity. So that's what I'm just kind of piecing together what you're saying as it's hitting me, is when you're outside of your identity, that's where shame can really have its play, right? It's a attack against your identity, period.
Period.
Right? So now, if I am experiencing that, it's because, as you mentioned, we're not perfect. We're being perfected daily. And I may be confident in one area of my identity today. Life happened, events take place, and I'm not as confident. Community will help fill in those gaps.
Yes.
Speaking life will help fill in those gaps.
Yes.
When I go in isolation and I sin, I fall, I've created a gap now nobody can see.
Because you're in isolation. Yeah.
And nobody can help fill. So what do? We try to self-soothe in sin.
And keep going back to that sin. It's a vicious cycle.
Shame.
If we allow shame to sit and stay, it will
Yes.
keep us in a vicious cycle,
It
because
will.
you've removed all other healthy avenues and you have nothing left but the thing that brought shame
Yes.
to you. So you keep going
Yes.
back to that same thing, and it's a cycle of shame, sin, shame, sin, shame,
And
sin.
you know what it is?
What's up?
It's the rotting of your identity.
The rotting, ROTTING.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you think of that apple with
Yeah,
that
it
little
is.
spot, all you gotta do is cut it out.
That's true.
You let it sit, it'll just ruin that entire. And that's what the goal of shame is.
Oh, man.
Is to rot your identity, thus your soul, if you let it sit.
Yeah. And it spreads to other parts of your identity. The once confident you, a year later, now you can't even recognize who you are because of the sitting
It
in the
does not
rotting.
stay compartmentalized to the one. You know what? I made a bad decision over here. I said something I wasn't supposed to say, and you have shame. And you may think that that's little, but you let it sit. And then before you know it, now you're not confident speaking the word. Because now you're not confident speaking the word, now you're a little more reserved. Because you're a little more reserved, you're not as firm in the word. Because you're not as firm in the word, all of a sudden you slip to something else that you would have never slipped to. Because that shame in the Bible talks about the little foxes. It doesn't matter what size of the shame. We need to create culture where any amount is as a community can be brought to the table and dealt with in love. Any amount, big, small, we shouldn't qualify it. I'm just feeling shame, right? So we were talking about language. How interesting or different would it feel if someone were to say, hey, would you allow me to walk through your shame with you? How can I support you in your shame?
Which is, you rarely hear someone saying that.
Yes.
Someone even thinking that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when we hear other people and their decisions, it makes us uncomfortable. So not only are they running from it, we want to run from it too. Maybe we will throw some religious jargon at them.
Yeah.
Say, oh, it's going to be, try to
weep and endure for a night. And if you just can wake up tomorrow, it's like, okay, I believe it. But right now I'm feeling something. And I think we have to normalize it because and normalize it in the sense of it is a normal response to sin. It is, right? A part of your identity died. It's going to be replaced with shame if you don't check it.
Yeah.
And check it quick.
Yeah.
Right? I jump, I have to come down. Unless when I jump, somebody grabs me and holds me up. Now, if I fall and I confess that and they can walk with me, now the lifetime of shame may be minutes.
And that's the key. And when you say your identity dies, we don't mean like the true identity of you dies. What we're talking about is your perception of your identity. Your awareness of your true identity dies.
Your awareness.
And so you have to actively work to believe who you are again. And so,
believe who you are again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this whole conversation, it really started because, just thinking about my own life and going through things that have happened, whether I've done it or someone else has done it to me. I recognize the difference. When I had a support system, when I didn't isolate myself, I came or walked through that shame much better and much quicker versus when I was isolated.
Yes.
When I ran.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have trusted people around me. And not to say that they couldn't be trusted, but my perception of them there was not many opportunities for them to show themselves to be trusted. And truth be told, there are just some people who have not reached that level of emotional maturity to even recognize your decisions. There's been many times where I've done some things and I've been afraid to tell people what I've done because I knew if I told them the decision that I made, they would judge me by the decision, which is a symptom of something much, much deeper, something much deeper rooted. This is why a lot of people, people talk about domestic violence victims or people who are abused in any kind of way. They always say, well, why don't you just do this? Or why don't you just do that? Why didn't Cassie just leave? You don't know how a person who has been traumatized and abused, how their psychology has been warped over the years.
And their perception of their identity.
Yes. Talk about a silent killer. That's what the devil knows exactly what he's doing when he causes traumas of cycle to start at birth for a person, because they know that person's going to spin themselves downward over their lifespan to where most people don't even get out. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you can get around a community that will walk with you through your shame, not only walk with you, but empathize with you, get out of their self, get out of their own weigh their pride and realize that, hey, there's something much deeper going on within the soul beyond what I'm seeing this person do. Be willing to actually dig through the trenches and understand why the person is doing it. When you have people like that around you, that shame, that walk of shame, because reality, it is a walk of shame and everybody walks it. It is much more bearable.
Yes.
It is much more, you feel like not only are you going to survive, but you can thrive. You can actually come out of this better and stronger and more equipped and more knowledgeable, even how to walk through shame.
Because the reality is the solo walk through shame does not have a guaranteed end with you living. You know what I'm saying? Because as jarring as that is, but it's we were talking about how when you don't embrace what is natural and aid it with what's supernatural, that's where we really get in trouble. Shame is a natural feeling when you fall short.
And we're going to fall short.
It's like if I get punched, I can't get mad because it hurt. Like, dang it, I'm hurting. I'm not supposed to hurt. Like, no, it's here. We don't want it to be here, but it's here. So let's deal with it. And that's what I think gets scary.
Yes.
Right? It gets scary helping someone deal with their shame, usually because that walk of shame got some mirrors in it.
Yes. That's why people don't want to walk.
You don't want to walk through that valley because that mirror, you keep seeing yourself in it. Ooh, I've done that. And you may not be willing to deal with it at that moment, but that's what makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what makes it beautiful when you can partner in walking and bringing someone through. Now you're more shored up in yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying yourself and like you have the power, but in yourself, meaning in God's identity for you. It's amazing that whenever you help somebody in the word, whenever somebody has fallen and God has used you as a vessel to lift them up and carry them, how much more firm you feel in yourself.
I'm trying to say yes. I almost choked on my spirit.
You get what I'm saying? It is not about us partly reading the word and all that, but when the rubber meets the road is when we have the fallen brother in front of us, the fallen sister in front of us, and we say, let me get down here with you.
Because
let me pick you up. Not judge you, not tell you what you should have did, not exile you. That's the easy stuff. If you think about
lazy.
it, that's the easiest thing because it's lazy, right?
It's lazy, yeah.
Let me just, where's my label? Harlatan. There you go. Fast thought, right? Like now I can put you in a category that in reality says you're undeserving of God's grace and forgiveness. That's really what it says, right? Or I can look at you as a broken individual that is experiencing now what I've experienced in the past and will probably experience again in the future.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Because you don't know what life is what cards you're going to be dealt.
It's coming.
Talk about it, because I have been humbled in my life to learn this lesson firsthand. And so now I embrace the shame. I'm going to say something, I'm going to say it in a different way. That it's risque, but I really want people to see shame differently. Instead of running from shame, embrace shame. Because anytime shame comes, it's coming with a purpose. It's an alarm. It has an assignment, and it's coming to tell you, hey, you stepped out of line. You've stepped out of boundary. You stepped out of your true identity. If you don't allow shame to tell you what it's here for, you're going to stay where you are.
Yeah, let it course correct.
Let it course correct.
You give it an assignment. Don't let it come in with this assignment because it's trying to kill you.
Eventually, if you let it stay.
Yeah, if you let it stay, it's trying to kill you. You say, okay, shame, I see you're here. What do I need to correct so I don't see you again?
So I don't see you again. Get out.
This reason.
Because you're not supposed to stay.
Yes.
And so to end this, because we always say 5 minutes. Yeah, I said 5 minutes. This is 20 minutes now.
Is it?
It is.
Huh. That was fast.
I am just encouraged as I have had people walk with me through my shame. I am more equipped to walk with other people through their shame.
Yes.
And when you said that about you come out stronger, you come out better, you really do. You come out more humble. You see humanity for what it really is, and when you can accept the totality of who you are, which you are a perfect spirit in a evolving soul and a very imperfect body. If you can embrace that, life just becomes, what's the word, easier, or
Yeah. Easier.
better word, easier. It just
His
becomes
yoke
more
is
easier
easy.
because you're not trying to live up to something that you're actually not. That's a
Yeah.
false, people call it what, an imposter syndrome. That's a false identity.
Yeah. You know what we're saying is really humility,
Yeah.
right? Humility is the ultimate protector of your identity,
Yes.
right? How the Bible tells us, don't think you done made it. Lest you fall, nothing has escaped you. No temptation has escaped you than what's common to man.
Yeah.
And staying humble, knowing that could be me at any time,
And it will be, honestly.
right?
At some
That's
point.
part one.
Yep.
Part two, like you said, and when it is, I am going to confide. I am going to open. I am going to say something. Now, that's all on the individual. We have to learn how to use that language. Something as simple as, hey, how you doing? Not so good. We got to normalize that, right? Instead of, I'm all right.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Like you see some people, hey, how you doing? Terrible. They're like, all right then. Didn't even listen, right?
When trying.
So you have to start to be okay with a level of vulnerability
Yes, you do.
amongst environments that may not have proven themselves as safe. But God is your banner. He's the protector. So I would rather, if I'm dealing with shame or any type of secret sin, because that's where shame lives, right?
Yes,
the
it
secret
does.
sin.
That's where it lives. Yes, it
That is
does.
his permanent
Hands down.
dwelling space. But I would rather express it at the expense of being hurt than hold on to it with the guarantee of it hurt and killing.
Yes.
And that's fine. Again, naturally, life, you're going to experience pain. And we just try to divert and have detours around all of these natural events because the church has been real sloppy, just saying the experience of the event is sin. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm experiencing shame from the sin, but the shame can't be the sin too. Like, help me work through it, but don't just condemn me because I'm having a natural response to a natural thing that I've done.
Yeah.
I just need help. Help me walk through it. Help. Just listen to me. Maybe just be in my space. Don't let me be alone with my thoughts. Because that's where shame really starts growing with me, right? Whatever the case may be. Let's walk down the street. Whatever. But all I'm saying is once we tap into that, now it takes humility to express and it takes humility to walk through.
Yes.
Because you could easily say, I ain't got time for that. We won't say it with our mouth maybe, but we'll say, oh man, I would, but I got this thing that I already scheduled and can't cancel. Oh, I would have to get a last minute flight. I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? I just feel my gas tank and I need this for this new job. Many reasons.
Yeah.
But if you humble yourself, and it's in closing, because we'll keep going. It's about one of the things that you and I talk about, and it is, what is it about? Is it about souls? Or is it about just you feeling good or not feeling embarrassed? If it's about souls, none of that matters. True. None of it matters.
True.
I'll fill up my gas tank again. Okay, I thought I was going to do something this weekend. I'm doing that. Oh, well, thought I was about to go to sleep. Had a long day. It's 10 p.m. Bro called me on the phone. He's struggling. Let me get up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Those are the tests of where your heart is.
That is true.
In Christ. And how you respond to it can be life-changing for both people.
It is life-changing. I'm
Right?
a living witness now how life-changing it is.
That's what I'm saying. We're on the side of Christ. We always have the power and the victory. So yes, shame comes. Yes, people may condemn you, hate on you. Whatever the case is, there's always an opportunity to take control. Always. and do the exact opposite, because greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. So yes, his little weapons, his little darts will come. All right, you got me. I shielded 5 of them. You got me in my leg. I can't walk right now. But my bro over here came over, stitched me up. My sis came over here, gave me these insulin shots. And in a couple days, I'm gonna be right back at it. That's it.
Okay, so at the end of this, the moral of this whole conversation is shame is going to come. It's going to come for you. It's going to come for people around you. The goal is to acknowledge that, accept it, accept what is coming to you, create environments to heal and to walk with people through the shame.
Not get stuck in it.
Don't get stuck.
Through it.
Don't get stuck yourself, or don't cause other people to get stuck in it.
Yeah.
And I want to end it with this, and don't respond. Okay, I'm just going to say this. Since I have been, since I was 15 or 16 years old, now I'm 34. Okay, I've been able to share with you most, if not all, of my shameful experiences. And not once did you make me feel less than, speak any words against my true identity, but you've always been a listening ear. You've always had the same consistent face, which is a smile, the same countenance. There we go. Because of that consistent love, because of that consistent, I see you, I hear you, and just being a safe space, a safe person, I've been able to become the different healed versions of myself. And I know it's because of God planting you in my life. So I want to say thank you for walking with me through my shame. And may the Lord bless you as well, the listener. May he bless you with the same kind of people, because these are people that are called to walk with you to your destiny. Y'all be encouraged. Peace.